I am a veterinarian that works in sort of a new field of veterinary medicine called shelter medicine.
Science is such a big field and it has such a big impact on the world.
And I'm here with Fluffy, and today we're going to demonstrate how to apply a 3-layer bandage.
WFSU Public Media's STEM Adventures are brought to you by Atkins and FSU's National High Magnetic Field Laboratory.
3, 2, 1, go!
I'm okay.
Since 2006, WFSU Public Media and the National High Magnetic Field Laboratory at Florida State University have held summer camps for young women interested in science, technology, engineering, and math, also known as STEM. Based on the national PBS program called SciGirls, these hands-on experiences at a variety of locations around our community have encouraged many middle and high school girls to consider and pursue careers in STEM fields. Over the years, the camps expanded, adding more girls and more adventures. But this year, COVID-19 changed the plans for 2020. Now, instead of heading into the field to learn and experiment, we're bringing STEM adventures to you.
SciGirls rocks!
I'm really excited today to welcome Dr. Rachel Barton to our show. Dr. Barton, would you like to tell the SciGirls a little bit about yourself to begin?
Sure. I'm really excited to be here with everybody. I am a veterinarian that works in sort of a new field of veterinary medicine called shelter medicine, and I also work in forensic veterinary sciences. But I've been a veterinarian for about 20 years. Before working in shelter medicine, I worked in private practice for about 7 years. And just like you think of when you take your pet into the family vet to have their routine preventative care, or if they're sick, that's sort of where I got my start. But about 14 years ago, I moved over into the emerging field of shelter medicine and fell in love with a whole new type of veterinary medicine.
So how do you explain what you do to the general public?
Well, a lot of people don't really understand shelter medicine. They certainly know about animal shelters, and they know that we take care of homeless animals, that we help people rehome their pets, and that we try to find new homes for pets that have been displaced for some reason. So we do a lot of preventative health care to keep our shelter animals safe. And basically what we're doing is we're taking these small animal diseases that we learned about in vet school, and then we're taking the herd health principles that we learned about when we're studying large animals. So I have, a lot of things that I've learned about cows or chickens and maintaining a population of animals. But then I have to apply all the small animal diseases where we're normally in the small animal world are focusing on individual animals. So I take my small animal diseases and my large animal principles and I mix them all up, and I take care of my herd of cats or my herd of dogs, if you will, that's living at the shelter. For the forensic side of things, I'm helping animal control and law enforcement with investigations for animal-related crimes. So that's typically like animal abuse is what we're looking at, animal abuse and neglect. And so what I do with them is I help them look for evidence, I help them interpret the evidence, and then I also help the court of law. So if it goes to trial, I help the judge and the jury interpret and understand the evidence so that they can make a decision about the case.
That's amazing. I always love hearing your description of that, Rachel. It never gets old. The next question is, how did you become interested? It's a two-part. How did you become interested in veterinary medicine, and then in particular, this new form of shelter medicine?
Well, the question on how I became interested in veterinary medicine is a better question for my mom, because she tells me that when I was 3, we got a new kitten. And I remember getting the new kitten, and that we took the new kitty to the vet, and she got her first set of shots. And on the drive home from the vet with that kitten, I told my mom that I was going to be a kitty doctor when I grew up. And I honestly don't remember ever not wanting to be a veterinarian. And I know so many people decide early on, or when they're young, they have an interest in veterinary medicine, because what's cooler than getting to work with puppies and kitties, help animals. And it's science, and science is amazing and awesome. So puppies, kitties, and science all rolled into one. Who wouldn't want to do that, right? But then shelter medicine, I have always had an interest in public health, which is basically herd health. It's population medicine, population health. And I had an opportunity that was sort of at the right time in my personal life too, to make a change and move into a new position. The city of Tallahassee was looking to make some changes in the way that they ran the shelter, and they wanted to hire a veterinarian to come in and help with doing spays and neuters, to help with preventative health care, to help with providing sick emergency care for the animals at the shelter too. And so I took a chance on it, on this new thing that really we didn't even know what shelter medicine was going to turn into more than a decade ago. And I've just found my calling, getting to help animals that nobody else is helping, getting to advocate for the wellness and the health of not just the animals at the shelter, but the animals in the whole community. It's been an amazing ride. Since starting at the shelter, I've gone back and got my master's degree in shelter medicine at the University of Florida. I've received additional training. I got my certification in forensics. So it's been fabulous. And one of the things that I love about veterinary medicine, or really having any career in science, is it's given me a foundation that I can use no matter what changes happen in the world around me. When I graduated from vet school 20 years ago, actually 21 years ago now, vets didn't work in shelters. Like, it was unheard of. And the knowledge and education that I gained from my veterinary degree has helped me move into this new job that we couldn't have even imagined when I first got the degree.
That's great. So the next question is, what advice do you have for middle school and high school girls who might be watching and they're interested in a field in STEM?
Well, one of the first things I think about is boys. And I know that shouldn't always come up at this day and age, but I remember I always loved math and science classes, that they were where I was comfortable. Poetry, creative writing, I wasn't comfortable there. I was comfortable in the certainty and the facts. And I was comfortable with the uncertainty and the hypotheses too, but still, I was comfortable in the math and science world. But sometimes I would be silly, and I would not let people know how smart I was or what my interests were, especially if it was a boy that I liked, because, I wanted the boy to like me back. So one thing I would say is be true to yourself and don't worry so much about what the boys think, because if they, like they say, if they matter, if a boy really has a problem with what you're saying, then he doesn't really matter, and that's not the right boy for you. So I say stick with what you love, explore the possibilities too. There are so many careers available in math and science. And like I said, I have a career that didn't even exist when I was in middle school or high school. So keep exploring and find what you love and do what you love. And don't let a bad grade in a class deter you. I certainly struggled sometimes in math, especially as I got to algebra 2, pre-calc. I learned I had to study harder and do extra problems than just what was assigned by the teacher to get through. But don't let that stop you.
That's great advice. The next question we have is, have you ever had a setback in your career? And if so, how did you overcome it?
Well, I did have a setback, and it did center around my math classes. I really struggled my junior year of high school with my math classes. And part of that was I just hadn't figured out the right studying technique for me. And so I had to ask for help. And that was probably one of the scariest things that I ever did, was going to my math teacher and admitting that I was struggling with the class. And she helped me figure out how I learned math and how I needed to study. And then things got much better once I figured out my learning style. So that was one of the scariest things I've ever done, was going up to my teacher and telling her that I needed help and admitting that I was struggling with the way I had been studying before.
Wow, thanks for sharing that. The next question we have is, how has COVID-19 affected your job?
COVID-19 has been one of the most challenging experiences of my career. It's also been one of the most invigorating and inspiring experiences. We in shelter medicine and in veterinary medicine are trained for this type of situation. We learn about disease outbreaks, pandemics, about how to manage, how to implement changes based on what you know when sometimes you don't know a lot. We have coronaviruses in the veterinary world, so there's a lot of knowledge that we already walked into this virus with. And as they were learning new things about COVID-19, a lot of the veterinarians were going, yeah, that makes sense, because in dogs it would do this, or in cats the coronavirus would do that. So there's a lot of things that make sense to us. But one of the biggest challenges is that veterinary medicine doesn't allow for a lot of personal space. There are things that we have to do for our patients that require us to be less than 6 feet apart from each other. So we are having to adapt and change how we do business. We're limiting the amount of time that we're spending together. We've had to change a lot of what we do. And our human side of medicine, a lot of the things that we use are things that they use. And so we are no longer able to get some of the protective equipment that we would use, some of the drugs that we would use, because they are either being used more on the human side, or even the things that are used to make those drugs are being diverted to make the human versions of the drugs. So we don't have them. So we're having to research, we're having to find new ways of doing things. And that's kind of exciting as a scientist, even though the reason we're having to do it isn't a happy reason. We are having to meet these new challenges, and that is invigorating because it's getting us out of the norm. And I think that's one of the things that we love in science, is that we are always asking new questions and meeting new challenges.
Well, that's all I have for you, Rachel. Is there anything you wanted to add, or any final comments that you wanted to make?
I'm just so thankful to be here today. I love SciGirls. I love everything that you stand for. And I'm so honored that even though we're not in person the way we usually are in the summers, that you are including me in this exciting time where you're being scientists. You're saying we can't do it the way we did. So how are we going to do it? And you're making it awesome, even though it's different.
Oh, thank you so much. And thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, my name is Surabhi Kumar, and I'm here with Fluffy, and today we're going to demonstrate how to apply a 3-layer bandage. When an animal has an open wound, part of the treatment involves a bandage. There are many different types of bandages, but most bandages consist of 3 layers: the primary layer, the secondary layer, and the tertiary layer. Proper bandaging helps the wounds heal faster. You can make a 3-layer bandage with these materials: a non-stick gauze square, you can substitute this with a tissue; a gauze roll or cast padding, which you can substitute with a roll of toilet paper; and a vet wrap or Coban, which can be substituted with an ace bandage. The first step in applying a 3-layer bandage is to clean the wound. We typically use chlorhexidine surgical soap or hydrogen peroxide. Next, we want to apply the primary layer. The primary layer is the layer that actually touches the wound. Usually it's a non-stick layer because most of the time we don't want the bandage to stick to the wound. However, there are exceptions. The primary layer is usually a non-stick bandage or gauze. So I'm going to take my gauze and put it on top of the wound. The third step is to apply the secondary layer. The secondary layer is the middle layer of the bandage and provides cushion and absorption. This layer may vary in thickness depending on how much padding and absorption is needed. The secondary layer is usually made with gauze, cast padding, or stacks of gauze squares. So when you apply the secondary layer, you want to start over the wound and wrap it all the way around. Just like this. And you want to take your scissors and cut it. And make sure that the secondary layer is wrapped all the way around the limb. The final layer is the tertiary layer. This layer goes on the outside of the bandage. This layer also helps in protecting the bandage and keeping it clean and holding everything in place. The tertiary layer is usually made with a vet wrap or cobalt. This is a self-adhesive stretchy material that comes in many fun colors. Since I don't have that, I'm using an ACE bandage. So I'm going to take my bandage and I'm going to wrap it all around the secondary layer. And it's important to make sure that you're wrapping it tight enough that you're keeping the other bandage in place, but not too tight that you're cutting off circulation. You can go above and below the bandage a little bit if you need to. Okay, I'm just going to cut the bandage. And there you go. This should be your finished product of the 3-layer wrap. This was a really cool and important skill that we got to practice at home. And now that you understand how to apply a 3-layer bandage, you've taken another step into a career in STEM. Hopefully Fluffy will get better soon. I'm Surabhi Kumar, and I'm talking with fellow SciGirl Adrianna Williams, who is a college student at Duke University. Hi Adrianna, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well.
What career in Duke did you decide to pursue?
So I am currently at Duke studying neuroscience with a minor in African American Studies. I'm also on the pre-med track.
So what made you interested in neuroscience and African American studies?
Yeah, so what's interesting is that I was actually, I became interested in neuroscience through SciGirls. And so basically how that happened was at the end of SciGirls, there's a presentation at the end, as we all know. And so I, throughout SciGirls, at one point learned about neuroscience. And so I went home to my mom and I was like, Mom, I want to learn about the brain. I want to learn about neuroscience. And she just said, okay. And we actually, made a poster about neuroscience, all about what it is, what the field is. And since then, I, was still interested in neuroscience. And so I learned more about it throughout middle school, high school, even got the opportunity to do some research in neuroscience. And then from there, the rest is really history, And so I am now today at Duke, set to receive my degree in neuroscience next year. And I'm also studying African American Studies because as a Black woman, I, felt as though I didn't know as much as I wanted to about my history. And I, of course, learned about my history from my parents and my family growing up and a little bit through school, but I just wanted to know more. And so I got to Duke, decided I wanted to minor in African American Studies, where I'm learning about African American Studies and African Studies. And since then, it's been amazing, and it's really informed the kind of doctor that I want to be.
So what challenges did you face when you pursued this career?
So that's a good question. I would say I've definitely experienced a lot of challenges. And I would say specifically speak to some challenges that I've experienced in taking pre-med classes and being a pre-med student. And so one pre-med class all pre-med students have to take is a class called organic chemistry. And it is one of the several chemistry classes you have to take, and it is arguably the hardest chemistry course that you will take as a pre-med student. And I took it in the spring of my freshman year, and I remember taking this class, and it was very hard. It was actually the hardest class I've taken at Duke University. And what I learned in that moment, I learned two things. And so the first thing I learned is that, it's important to ask for help. It's essential to ask for help when you need it. And so I went to one of my mentors, who is a chemist, but she is also the dean of the College of Arts and Sciences at Duke University. And I went to her, and she helped me find a number of resources that would help me with the class, that included like private tutoring, group tutoring, and also like organic chemistry learning communities. And on top of that, in our discussions, she also pointed me to a summer pre-med program. And so not only in me asking for help was I able to, find the resources that I needed to take the class and do well, but I also was able to apply for and get accepted to a pre-med program that was all expenses paid, and I even got a stipend out of it. So all of that to say that I learned in that very challenging moment, it's important to ask for help. And the second thing that I learned is that it's important to not compare yourself to people. I found myself in that class oftentimes thinking to myself, how am I struggling this much, but other students, are doing what looks like so much better than me? And what I realized that moment through talking with other students, through just my own personal reflection, is that, it's easy to assume how others are doing, but you just never know. And so students in that class were struggling just as much as I was, if not more. And also is that what I've realized is that when you spend time comparing yourself to others, that's time that could be spent, achieving the goals that you set for yourself. And so I learned from that class that I shouldn't compare myself to other people and how I think others are doing, but instead focus on how I'm doing and what improvements I can make, and, how I can, do better in a class or do better in my career, or so on and so forth.
So what was your favorite SciGirls experience?
My favorite SciGirls experience was going to the Gulf Marine Lab. And I love it so much because, as someone from Tallahassee, we're close to the beach, but we're not at the beach. And so I'm someone who loves to be outside, and I also love the water. And so the Gulf Marine Lab was an opportunity to have both. And so not only was it a good opportunity to be outside and be on the water, but I got to learn a lot about different marine animals and marine life that I wouldn't otherwise know about. And since going to the Gulf Marine Lab, and when I did SciGirls in 5th grade, I went to the Gulf Marine Lab a couple more times after that, and to this day, it's still one of my favorite places to go.
So what advice do you have for girls thinking about going into a career in STEM?
It's important to not compare yourself to others, because even in 2020, even in the time that we're in now, women are still underrepresented in STEM, and also minority women are underrepresented in STEM. And so it can be really easy to be in spaces, whether it's your classes, whether it's, in your workspace, when you're actually in your career, where you can look like the only person in the room. I know as a woman, and specifically a Black woman at Duke, I am oftentimes the only one who looks like me in my classes, or even in my current internship now, which is a STEM-related internship. I am maybe one of 2 people who look like me in our entire intern cohort. And so in those moments and in those spaces, it can be really easy to, feel intimidated or feel anxious. And that's, all of those feelings are valid, but it's also important to not compare yourself to other people. And it's important to, again, think about what it is that you want to accomplish, what goals do you have for yourself, and how can you best achieve those? How can you best improve yourself and, accomplish the work that it is that you want to do to make an impact in society and in your community.
How did the camp make you think about science as a career?
Yeah, so I think SciGirls it helped me think about science in two ways. One, it helped me to see that science was something that was really accessible to me and really something that I could accomplish and achieve as a career. Prior to SciGirls, in elementary school, I was interested in science, had opportunities to, stimulate my interest in science, but I just never saw it as something that I could achieve or accomplish as a career. There were other careers that or jobs that I thought would be better suited for me. But when I did SciGirls and I got to see not only girls my age interested in science, but also, women in STEM actually in these careers actually doing the thing, it really, it just opened my eyes and it allowed me to see and realize, no, this is something that I could really do if I wanted to. And the other way in which SciGirls changed my perspective of science is that it helped me to see that science is so much bigger than what many perceive it as. Again, prior to SciGirls, I really thought of science as a scientist at a, bench in a laboratory, looking at stuff under the microscope, looking at cells, bacteria, so on and so forth. And that's a lot of people's perception of science, but I, after SciGirls, got to see that science is such a big field and it has such a big impact on the world. There's literally science in everything that we do, have, look at, feel, so on and so forth. And, not only is science, scientists, looking at stuff under a microscope, but it's also being out in nature, observing things that occur in nature in the natural world. And that science is also, people who may be trained in what are considered STEM fields, but also, out in places like Congress, places like City Hall, working to improve and change science policy so that it better affects and impacts people and living things in this world. And so it really just opened my eyes to how big science is and how there's so many more avenues in science I could pursue than what I originally thought.
Yeah, I totally agree. You start to see science everywhere you look. Thank you so much, Adrianna, for speaking with me. It was great talking with you.
Of course, it was so great to talk to you.
WFSU Public Media's STEM Adventures are brought to you by Atkins and FSU's National High Magnetic Field Laboratory.